Hey guys, in this video I'm going to attempt to create a stylized Elon Musk 3D character here in zBrush, just for fun, just to see what would be a process that would kind of make sense as far as executing something like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to fast forward this because this video is just way too long if you just watch it, in real time. So the first thing I did is I collected a few references of Elon, just the front view and the side view. And the next thing I did is I went to Lightbox and I just grabbed the female head to get started with, because that head has the most details. All the other default heads that you can grab in ZBrush usually require a little more tweaking, but this one is nice because the ears were kind of finished and the lips, and all I had to do is just kind of move things into proper place. So using the spotlight, I just imported the textures and then changed the opacity. And then if you overlap it over your model, you can, then you can move the mesh around just using the move brush and very carefully just kind of adjust where things need to be. And it's a perfect way to get correct proportions very quickly instead of guessing. And on top of that, I also imported one into my pure ref as well, just so I have kind of a double reference. One is the actual reference where I can, try to match it point by point. And the other one is a visual reference where I can just kind of look at it and just make sure it makes sense and it feels good. So you can see me using the spotlight projection here to align the profile as well, just to make sure that it makes sense. And so far, the only thing I've done is I just grabbed the female head and used the move brush. Right here you can see me doing a few more kind of visual adjustments just to make sure it makes sense. My intention was to just create a good looking front render of Elon, but at the same time I wanted to make sure that the sides and the back are finished as well. And here you can see it's starting to look more and more like him by just continuously making these small adjustments. And pressing Shift Z will allow you to hide the spotlight and then bring it back. And then if you want to go into it, you just press Z, and then you can do different things like change the size of your projection. You can sample colors from your projection images and all of that. Once I was happy with kind of the main tweaks, I started projecting the color from the reference photograph by just changing the standard brush to RGB only, and then making sure my spotlight projection is turned on, and literally just projecting the color from the photo onto the mesh. And initially it's really cool because you can quickly get the likeness of someone, but then the funny thing is that once you begin to turn the model, it's going to start to look pretty much, super crazy and ridiculous because it only projects, only projected from the front. So if you do projection, a lot, it's really awesome to get good references with the same lighting from multiple angles, and then you can project the side view as well as the front view, and that would be a much better way to go. I only projected the front, and the rest I just kind of colored in manually. So you can see me doing that here. I'm just kind of doing touch-ups and essentially just blending that front projection, to the sides and the front. And the easiest way to do that is just hover over the color and just press C, and then just turn down the RGB intensity of the color brush. And that will allow you to quickly smooth the skin areas together and make sure it makes sense, right? Now this female head also comes with the eyes and the teeth. In my case, I didn't need the teeth, so I just deleted them by masking it and just separating it. And then as far as the eyes go, I used the projection for that as well, just so I could get the precise color of what Elon's eyes look like. They're kind of this greenish, dark green, at least in this references. I know that a lot of times the eyes look different based on the lighting of the reference, but in this case I just grabbed this one and projected it just on the eyeball. And my intention was just to work on the one side and then just flip it over to the other side. So you can see me doing that here. Just kind of moving into and playing off of the projection, right? So I can project kind of the base colors, but then I can just very carefully do touch-ups using the standard brush and the RGB, paint mode, right? To just kind of touch it up and just make sure that I stay in the correct kind of a color palette, right? To achieve the likeness. Once I was happy with one eye, I deleted the right side, or his right side, and just flipped it over. And then when you flip it over, you have to be really careful. If you create any kind of a light reflection, it can't just be flipped over, right? Because the light doesn't work that way. You have to adjust the light projection, funny enough, to make sure that it looks like it's coming from one side, right? A lot of times new artists will flip something and forget to adjust the reflection in the eyes. And so that was one quick trick. And then here I'm just doing quick touch up of the eyebrows. The eyebrows were also projected, so it's nice because it gives you that kind of a crazy hair eyebrow look, instead of painting it manually, or instead of modeling it as a 3D object. If you want to do eyebrows, a lot of times you could just paint them in, and that's fine. And it's nice too, because if you create morph targets or facial expressions and the eyebrows are part of the texture, right, that's going to animate really well without you worrying about multiple meshes. Now to tackle the hair, I wanted to do something as simple as just using the references, mask out the main head and just create the basic shape, just using masking only. And then extracting it by giving it a little thickness, and then building on top of it to give some kind of a movement or some kind of a illusion of hair. So for the base, using masking is pretty much perfect. So here you see me play around with different thickness settings to see if I can find something that makes sense or something that I like. And I just went with one. And then to get the hair, that's a little bit tricky as well, because no matter what, you pull up many different references of someone, and a lot of times their hair will look different again based on their lighting environment, or where they are, outside, inside. So it's always a little bit tricky if you want to get somebody's likeness. But next, once I extracted the main hair shape, you see me going into trim dynamic mode and just touching up anything that's super bulky or sharp, right? And to achieve the hair volume or the flow, I grabbed clay buildup, and I just used the default alpha that comes with the brush, which is kind of the square looking thing. And by changing the size of the brush, you can create a really nice illusion of some sort of a hair texture, right? And I was going for something that's super stylized, almost like a toy-like. If you think of like a Disney Infinity character, right? That kind of thing. So this works really well to create that kind of flow very quickly, right? So you can see me just going around the entire hair mesh and just changing the size of the brush and just maintaining that kind of that flow. And one of the things that you could experiment with if you try something similar is when you're using clay buildup, it definitely works really well with sculptures mode, meaning it will sort of re-dynamesh itself on the fly as you're painting. And that's what I've done here. I was using clay buildup, and you can see my sculptures pro button is turned on. And to give the hair some kind of a unique look or spikes, I just grabbed the snake brush, and I just simply created kind of these pointy hairs. And then to blend them in, I went back using clay buildup and just created more texture on top. and just kind of going back and forth created the illusion or the style that I was looking for. Once I was happy with the hair, you can see me just doing a couple more touch-ups using the move brush and just making sure I like the volume and the feel of how the hair feels. Here I was playing a little more with the different colors before thinking about adding maybe a couple highlights. So what I ended up doing is just choosing one that's kind of somewhat dark brown color, and then just using highlights to create little highlights on top, and then blend them in together, you know, just to get a little more variation. And then I saw that in the references there are a couple distinctive traits that Elon has, like the wrinkles and little bags under the eyes. So I just kind of manually went in and added that just using the standard brush. All right, and here you see me just playing around with a couple lighting things just to see how I feel about it and how it looks so far. Regardless of how hard you try, there's not going to be a situation where you're going to come up with a beautiful epic render in ZBrush unless you're using, you know, not that you can use the default stuff, unless you use like Redshift or you bring this model into other applications like Blender or Maya. In this case, I just decided to export out the ZBrush model as an FBX file and bring it into Blender. And I have a tutorial, I have a couple tutorials on how to do this pretty quickly. So you could see me, I brought it in, and then the PolyPaint came in beautifully into Blender. And in here, all you have to do is just kind of go into the your shading network and just kind of activate and hook it up, which is really simple to do actually. And then here you see me deciding to figure out if I want to go with Eve or Cycle. So I'm playing around with different settings, and here you can turn on ambient occlusion. I'm still in Eve mode. And then I decided to bring in the HDRI or HDR environment to see if I can get maybe a little bit better lighting for my render. Once I was happy with the environment I chose, I simply set up two point light. I put one in front, and you can see me setting that up here, and then I put one more on the back as a kind of a rim light for the render. And the trick with that is just to position the rim light in the back and really crank up the power. Check this out right now, it says 1500, but when I actually change the power of the light, I actually change it to something much higher. All right, here you see me switching to cycles, and the reason I switched to cycles is because I wanted to turn on 30,000 is what I changed it to. But I changed it to cycle so I can turn off that ugly background and just have the color background. And then I just simply rendered out the mesh, and that is the final result. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it would be cool to take this head and put it on the rest of the character, maybe build him, you know, standing in some kind of a pose in front of a rocket or something. But anyways, thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in our next video.